Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Hui Yuhao's entry into the Sea God's Pavilion had nothing to do with Elder Mu. This happened because of his contributions to the academy, and he was rewarded accordingly. 1,376 blueprints. This was Hui Yuhao's contribution to the academy. This meant he had sent the academy the blueprints to construct 1,376 different soul tools. These blueprints had given the soul tool department a great boost. Shrek Academy didn't lack for money. The most important limiting factor for the three native empires of the Doluo continent to developing soul tools was the lack of precious metals. Shrek Academy's situation in this aspect was comparatively better, and one reason for that was because of their financial power, while another was because of Shrek Academy's inner structure. Shrek Academy bore the weight of Shrek City on its shoulders. They had their own powerful trade association, which had already reached into the Sun Moon Empire. Precious metals had substantial strategic importance and were difficult to purchase, but that didn't mean nothing could be done. Over the past 2 years, as Hui Yuhao continuously had sent back blueprints, Shrek Academy's Soul Tool department had seen exponential advancements. Even though they still couldn't compare to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Hui Yuhao had managed to help them save a lot of time and effort in research. The blueprints that Hui Yuhao had toiled and racked his brains to draw were now in the library of the Sea God's Pavilion, and the original drafts were safely stored away. They had become a part of Shrek Academy's history that would be there for a long time to come, and Hui Yuhao had been written into the Academy's history as a hero. Yang Xiaozhi chortled and said, "What you have done carries 10 times more worth than those reconnaissance tasks. Our teacher talked to me about your future path. Before he passed away, the Academy cannot hold you back, and we can only support you and be something that you can fall back on. The Tang sect has been established, no. That should be your platform for further development. However, you still have to win the championship during the big competition, and we strongly believe you have the ability to do so. You haven't overlooked your cultivation while you've been toiling over soul tools, have you?" Hui Yuhao said confidently, "I already have 5 soul rings." Yang Xiaozhi looked astonished as he said, 5. You already have 5 soul rings. So fast. For normal students, reaching rank 50 at the age of 17 was considered extremely fast. Furthermore, Hui Yuhao was a soul master with an ultimate martial soul. Cultivation was far more difficult for ultimate martial souls, but he still managed to reach rank 50 in just a little over 2 years. This was a great pleasant surprise for Yang Xiaozhi. Xian Lina giggled and said, "I think you can almost be the Academy's mascot now, Yuhao. Why? Because you're a little monster. You're the one among all the students that I've seen that fits that description the best." Yang Xiaozhi said, "Let's go. We should grab something to eat too before we start traveling. Returning to Shrek Academy safely is the most important thing right now." Yes, returning to Shrek Academy safely was of the utmost importance. They had a simple lunch, and Fan Yu followed Yang Xiaozhi's instructions to take Ikaitu, Yi Xiaoxing, and the other students to travel ahead. Yang Xiaozhi and Xian Lina took Hui Yuhao and rested for a while longer before they sauntered out of Maple Leaf City and walked towards Shrek Academy. They took their time and walked slowly, so that they could distance themselves from the group in front of them. "If we are ambushed, you will protect Hui Yuhao, and I will take the offensive," Xian Lina said to Yang Xiaozhi. After another hour or two, Yang Xiaozhi glanced at the sky and said, "It's about right. Let's pick up the pace." The 3 of them unleashed their flying-type soul tools and soared into the sky toward Shrek Academy. Hui Yuhao felt much more relaxed and comfortable flying with his deans. He didn't have to deal with air resistance, as Yang Xiaozhi released his soul power and enveloped the 3 of them inside it. The propulsion force was released by their flying-type soul tools at the same time, and they flew at a breakneck speed. Both deans were titled Doluo. They would be back at Shrek Academy in less than 4 hours. Hui Yuhao thought to himself that he couldn't let himself be a burden in the battle that was to come. Time continued to pass, and they came closer and closer to Shrek Academy. They were deep inside the Heavenly Soul Empire's territory after another hour. Are they not coming at all? If that's the case, we will have wasted our efforts, Xian Lina said with a tinge of regret in her voice. Yang Xiaozhi snapped, "Isn't that a good thing? Returning to Shrek Academy safely is the most important thing. You have never corrected your belligerence, Lina." Xian Lina rolled her eyes at him and said, "Have you forgotten my title?" Yang Xiaozhi laughed and said, "How can I forget? You're the Valkyrie Doluor. You're the only person that dares to call yourself that. The Valkyrie that soared through the skies left such vivid memories for many back in the day. Just not with you, yes. Xian Lina grunted. Yang Xiaozhi said, don't be like this, Lina. We are both people with families, and you're still so merciless and unforgiving. We're already so old, why can't we just live harmoniously with each other? Xian Lina turned around and muttered, can't be bothered with you anymore. Their expressions suddenly changed while they chatted. Hu Yuhao could feel two frightening soul power undulations rippling nearby, and he automatically gazed into the distance. The weather was clear today, and the skies were blue for endless kilometers ahead. However, at this moment, the skies had transformed in the distance, and a tremendous patch of dark clouds was drifting toward them rapidly. The dark clouds seemed to be expanding continuously, and it felt like they were bearing down on them and threatening to overwhelm everything. Xian Lina grunted coldly, and stepped out of Yang Xiaozhi's protective circle with a single movement. Her flying-type soul tool slowed in the sky, and she hovered in midair. Stay behind me, Yang Xiaozhi said to Hu Yuhao, all you have to do is watch, yes. Hu Yuhao acknowledged. Yang Xiaozhi's eyes squinted faintly. You're still alive, Zhong Peng. Are you preparing to let me finish you today? Your mouth is still so dirty, Yang Xiaozhi. I want to see who will finish who today. The vast dark clouds in the shape of a tiger's head released a deafening roar, and terrifying pressure erupted in the next moment that barreled toward the three of them like a tidal wave. Xian Lina made her move at this moment. She howled into the sky, and soared upwards in a flash. Scorching green flames burst from her body. Xian Lina's body was growing larger, and it didn't take more than a few seconds before she was more than 5 meters tall, and a set of green armor appeared on her. This suit of armor covered her entire body like scales. Hu Yuhao didn't know Xian Lina's actual age, but he could tell from her conversation with Yang Xiaozhi that she must be quite old. But as he watched Xian Lina release her armor, and 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black soul rings rose from beneath her feet, her enlarged frame made her seem younger, as if she were a young girl in her 20s. She had a valiant and heroic demeanor that was full of fighting will, the Valkyrie Doluor, Xian Lina. The deep voice suddenly became a little strange. I thought the two of you broke up. How are you still with Yang Xiaozhi, this hypocrite, this false gentleman? The Valkyrie soaring through the skies, impressive. A deep voice growled. As the dark clouds dissipated, a human figure appeared in their place. He curled his right hand into a fist, and then sent it barreling through the sky. The dragon head quickly dissipated amidst several violent booms. When it did, Xian Lina gazed into her adversary's eyes in the distance. Her adversary was an elderly man dressed in black, who was standing on a patch of dark clouds. His skin was extremely tanned, while one of his eyebrows was, peculiarly, a bit higher than the other. A large king character was written in black on his forehead. He had a small, stocky frame that didn't match up with his voice, and looked tiny compared to Xian Lina, who was currently more than 5 meters tall. You still dare to appear in the world, Zhong Peng? Have you already forgotten how Elder Mu showed you mercy back then? Xian Lina pointed her pike at him as she angrily asked. The elderly man lowered his voice and replied, of course I remember. Elder Mu gave me a chance, and I will always remember the favor and mercy he showed me. I didn't reveal myself to the world the entire time that Elder Mu was alive, but now that Elder Mu has passed, that vow no longer applies. That favor has taken away so many years of freedom from me, nobody else will ever restrain me like that again. Of course I'm going to show myself to the world once more. I won't harm you or Yang Xiaozhi, because we were once acquainted, the two of you can go. However, you have to leave that little fella behind. Yang Xiaozhi smiled and said, Zhong Peng, you seem to get more and more messed up the older you get. You're actually in cahoots with the Sun Moon Empire. Seems like you've found a nice boss. The black-robed elderly man retorted angrily, nonsense, nonsense. I don't know anything about the Sun Moon Empire, nor anything about the illustrious Virtue Hall. Hand him over. The two of you can piss off. A chilly light flickered in Xian Lina's eyes. Don't you think that you're being overconfident and unrealistic? I want to see just how you plan on chasing us away. She roared into the sky once she'd finished speaking, and her body flashed through the air like a green lightning bolt. She appeared before the elderly man in an instant, and thrust her pike towards him. A deafening boom cracked through the sky like thunder, followed by the tremendous shadow of a green dragon, which flickered once before disappearing behind her back, as the tip of the pike arrived before the elderly man. The elderly man placed his hands together in front of his chest, causing a black sphere to immediately appear in the center of his palms as 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black soul rings swiftly rose from his feet. His 9 soul rings glowed alternately, while the black sphere blocked the tip of Xian Lin's pike. Space seemed to implode in that moment, at which point Hu Yuhao felt momentarily dazed and the sky suddenly turned dark. Xian Lin and the black-robed elderly man had now become embroiled in battle. Zhongpeng, the scorpion tiger Doluo, was pushed back continuously, but he didn't seem disoriented or panicky at all. The only thing he felt was a little astonished as he passively defended himself against Xian Lin's hysterical onslaught. Xian Lin cultivates both her martial soul and soul tools. She's probably still quite far from Yang Xiaozhe in terms of fighting ability, but since when did her offensive abilities become so powerful? Could it be that how could Hu Yuhao let this opportunity go? He immediately voiced the doubts in his mind. Din Yang, the gigantic dragon conjured behind Din Xian, should be her martial soul, right? Her body has become so huge, and it looks a bit like she's using her martial soul true body. Yet, her martial soul seems like a dragon. What's going on? There was no way that he could address Yang Xiaozhe as his senior brother, as Yang Xiaozhe was more than 100 years old. Thus, he respectfully addressed him as Din Yang. Yang Xiaozhe replied, all 7 ringed soul masters have a martial soul true body. However, martial soul true bodies can be mutable. Through years of research within the academy, we've discovered another method of unleashing our martial soul true body once we become transcendent Duluos. Even though this won't increase its power, we'll be able to maintain human form in battle. For soul masters that are more adept at close combat, being able to keep their human form can be quite beneficial. We call this battle technique true body possession. Hu Yuhao felt his heart tingle after hearing Yang Xiaozhe's explanation. His martial souls were the spirit eyes and the ice jade emperor scorpion. Even he himself had no idea what his martial soul true body would be like once he broke through to rank 70. Would he transform into a scorpion for battle? As for his spirit eyes, would he actually become a pair of eyes? Only time would tell. Din Yang, are 7 ringed soul masters entirely unable to use the true body possession battle technique? Hu Yuhao asked. Yang Xiaozhe replied, not necessarily. However, using the true body possession technique will divide a soul master's concentration, thus the soul master must be extremely adept at manipulating their spirit. They'll have to figure out the proper fusion between soul power and spiritual power, as well as the issues brought about by using the true body possession technique, after revealing their martial soul true body. Even if they're able to achieve this, the duration that it can be maintained in battle will be reduced by 2/3 compared to using one's martial soul true body. Din Yang, Din Xian's martial soul. Yang Xiaozhe slapped his forehead and said, oh, I forgot to tell you. Lin's martial soul is very unique, it's considered a mutant martial soul, thus that means she's probably the only one in the entire world with her martial soul. She's named her martial soul the Green Flame Dragon. If you think that her martial soul is a fire-type martial soul, then you're extremely wrong. Her mutant Green Flame Dragon martial soul is actually wind-type. The green flames that you see are actually made up of extremely compressed air that's constantly reverberating. They're exceptionally destructive, and can cause disintegration. Hu Yuhao stared at the green flames in curious astonishment. No matter how he looked at it, he couldn't tell that her martial soul was a wind-type martial soul. Zhongpeng is launching his powerful moves. That's his Scorpion Tiger martial soul true body. The Scorpion Tiger is born from an exceptionally powerful soul beast known as the Dark Demon Evil Tiger. However, it's considered a subspecies, as it's not as dark. Even though it's not as formidable as the Dark Demon Evil Tiger, it also requires regular consumption of soul beast blood and spirit to sustain itself and evolve. What he's releasing now are the spirits of soul beasts that he has absorbed and his own beast souls that are formed through the fusion of spiritual power and soul power. This is Zhongpeng's signature move, and it's incredibly hard to deal with. Beast souls are highly resistant to physical attacks, while they are also equipped with both physical and spiritual offensive capabilities. The user, Zhongpeng, can also integrate himself into any beast soul for a sudden ambush at any time. Yang Xiaozhe's live analysis gave Hu Yuhao a deeper understanding of this Scorpion Tiger Doluo. He felt a tingling in his heart as he watched the beast souls in the sky. For him, the status of title Doluo was still very far away, and he still had a long way to go to reach that level. However, he was most unafraid of spiritual attacks after all. He was a student of the Calamity Necromancer, and the divine law of necromancy had been imparted to him. In some sense, he was a necromancer himself, and it couldn't get any easier for him to become an evil soul master if he wanted to. Of course, Hu Yuhao didn't see himself that way, and neither did he want to become an evil soul master. What he wanted to do was kill evil soul masters. Xian Lina could no longer maintain her previous advantage once Zhong Peng released his beast souls. The pike in her hands danced through the sky, and her onslaught continued like tidal waves, but the beast souls were exceptionally difficult to deal with. They were beast souls that Zhong Peng had cultivated over many years, and they also had his spiritual imprints. There were 12 main beast souls, and these 12 main beast souls made up Zhong Peng's 8th soul skill, the 12 beast envoys. The 12 beast envoys all had cultivations equivalent to an 8-ringed soul master. Even though they didn't threaten Xian Lina, they had no problem entangling her. If these main beast souls were attacked, they could absorb the other normal beast souls around them to replenish themselves. Zhong Peng looked on from the side in his scorpion tiger form, and his body gradually became incorporeal while the dark clouds beneath his feet began to expand once more and permeate the entire battlefield. Hu Yuhao was under the protection of Yang Xiaozhi's soul power, so he couldn't feel how powerful the soul power undulations were outside. However, half the sky had turned black at this point, and green lightning flickered incessantly from time to time. It was even appropriate to describe the skies as filled with calamities and natural disasters. Yang Xiaozhi's eyes suddenly looked in another direction, and he muttered, "Why hide yourself if you're here? Come out." I knew that Zhong Peng himself wouldn't have the confidence to take on both me and Xian Lina. You live up to your name as the disciple of the dragon god Doluo. Impressive senses. An old voice rang out in the sky, and a crack suddenly opened in the air as a human shadow stepped out from within. The elderly man smiled when he saw Yang Xiaozhi's wary eyes and said, "I haven't left the mountain for quite some time, and most of my friends are probably gone by now. Even Elder Mu has passed away, what a waste. I'm here today for you, actually. I want to see whether Elder Mu's disciple has inherited his abilities. My name is Long Xiaoyao, although I'm not sure if you remember me." Long Xiaoyao. Yang Xiaozhi shuddered when he heard this name, and a person's figure surfaced in his mind. He blurted out, You are the Dragon Emperor Doluo, Long Xiaoyao. You're still alive?" Long Xiaoyao smiled and said, "Yes. I'm so old, but I'm still alive. It's a pity that Mu Yan has passed before me." A deep sentiment of grievance flowed within his eyes when he said this. Hu Yuhao was hovering beside Yang Xiaozhi, and he could tell that this elderly man's emotions were not false. The relaxed expression on Yang Xiaozhi's face vanished completely. Not in his wildest dreams did he expect such a powerful being to be amongst the group that Jing Hongchen found to ambush them. Who was Long Xiaoyao? He was the Darkness Holy Dragon, who shared a reputation with Elder Mu back in the day as the twin holy dragons of Black and White. The Dragon Emperor Doluo, Long Xiaoyao, and the Dragon God Doluo, Mu Yan. Long Xiaoyao's martial soul was the Darkness Holy Dragon. The Darkness Holy Dragon and Elder Mu's Radiant Holy Dragon were the extremes of darkness and light among dragon-type martial souls, and their cultivation levels had rivaled one another back in the day. For some reason, Long Xiaoyao had suddenly vanished from the earth. Yang Xiaozhi hadn't even been born when Long Xiaoyao disappeared from the continent. It was natural that he had never seen this powerful individual before. Yang Xiaozhi took a deep breath and forcefully suppressed the emotions in his heart. He bowed respectfully and said, "Greetings, Senior Long. I never thought I'd be able to actually meet you one day." Long Xiaoyao heaved a sigh and said, "It was me who didn't dare to see Mu Yan. I have let him down too much, and I wouldn't show myself to the world easily if not for the fact that he has passed away. But I am full of regret now that he's really gone. I've never really had the courage to stand before him to apologize." Yang Xiaozhi felt a tingling in his heart and said, "I remember teacher saying that the two of you were really good friends back in the day. Even though you have a darkness dragon martial soul, you are upright and plain-spoken by nature." Today Long Xiaoyao shook his head and said, "Mu Yan didn't tell you about what happened between us back then. He's just trying to save me some face. Forget it. I will leave you with your lives today out of respect for Mu Yan." Yang Xiaozhi formed a circle with his arms as he pushed out with both palms. The phoenix calls became incredibly shrill, and even though Hu Yuhao was under Yang Xiaozhi's protection, he still felt as if his spirit was about to be torn to pieces. The Eye of Destiny was automatically activated, and he released his spiritual power and covered himself with a layer of golden light. Only then could he stabilize and reorient himself. If the sky was an enormous balloon, Then Long Xiaoyao's finger seemed to have popped this balloon. A gigantic black hole that was 3 meters in diameter appeared without warning before Yang Xiaozha. It was like a monster with its mouth wide open, and it was about to swallow both Yang Xiaozha and Hu Yuhao whole. White radiance burst forth from Yang Xiaozha's palms and surged into the black hole. A series of 17 explosive sounds crackled through the sky, and his body trembled continuously from the force as he retreated 1,000 meters away in an instant. Radiant Phoenix, not bad, not bad. No wonder you could become Mu Yan's direct disciple. Long Xiaoyao didn't pursue, but nodded towards Yang Xiaozha instead. Yang Xiaozha's expression was unbelievably solemn at this point. One could fake his or her name, but one definitely couldn't fake his or her cultivation. The Dragon Emperor Doluo's cultivation was definitely in the same realm as his teacher, and even the body sex leader Dubuzi, who was also an ultimate Doluo, was probably inferior to him. 2 more times. Long Xiaoyao muttered, bullying us youngsters is no big deal at all. At this moment, a crisp voice that tinged with anger could be heard. Long Xiaoyao was about to launch another attack, but he was stunned momentarily. Hu Yuhao stepped out from behind Yang Xiaozha, and there was grief and indignation in his eyes. He glared at Long Xiaoyao and said, "You are not worthy of speaking my teacher's name, you're not even worthy of being my teacher's friend. You don't need to pretend with those 3 attacks of yours. You will never get the ring back even if you kill me today. Even if I have to send it into a different dimension, I will never give it you. Little junior, don't spout nonsense. Elder Long is on the same level as teacher was and possesses the Darkness Dragon. His title is the Dragon Emperor. He is possibly the last remaining top-ranked soul master, who has contributed greatly to society." Yang Xiaozha was anxious as he spoke, "Little junior. Are you Mu Yan's disciple too?" Long Xiaoyao didn't react to Hu Yuhao's cursing. On the contrary, he was surprised by his identity. Hu Yuhao straightened his chest and said, "That's right. I am teacher's closed-door disciple. You're at least 200 years older than me. But if you were the same age as me, you wouldn't be my match, and if teacher was still alive, I don't think you'd be daring enough to attack anyone from Shrek Academy." Hu Yuhao wasn't being impulsive. He could tell that this Dragon Emperor Doluo wasn't willing to attack both of them. Yang Xiaozha was a transcendent Doluo. If Long Xiaoyao didn't care and attacked him, it was still acceptable. But what about Hu Yuhao? He wasn't even 20 years old, while Long Xiaoyao was an ultimate Doluo that had lived for more than 200 years. Would he really directly attack him? In addition, he was also an old friend of Elder Mu. That was why Hu Yuhao exploited the opportunity as Long Xiaoyao attacked to reveal himself. He roared furiously and blocked in front of Yang Xiaozha with his body. Long Xiaoyao squinted his eyes and focused his attention on Hu Yuhao's vertical eye, third eye. A very special martial soul and feeling. You claim that I'm bullying the weak. Fine. What if you attack me then? I'll only use rank 50 soul power, just like you. If you can make me move even slightly from where I'm standing, I'll take it as your win. I won't demand that ring on your finger either. I didn't expect Mu Yan to accept another disciple just before he passed away. I'm curious as to what he saw in you." Hu Yuhao twisted his head to look at Yang Xiaozha. Yang Xiaozha hadn't expected anything like this either. He thought of something, and he nodded to Hu Yuhao. It was evidently better for Hu Yuhao to fight instead of him. With the Dragon Emperor Doluo's identity, there was no way he would harm someone so much younger than him. Even if he lost, he just had to surrender the materials they had extorted from Jing Hongchen. Furthermore, he believed that Hu Yuhao was the best at creating miracles. He had twin martial souls and an ultimate martial soul. If the Dragon Emperor Doluo used the same rank of soul power, he might actually have a chance. At least this also gave them an opportunity to delay. Why did they depart later? Not only was he trying to widen their gap with the other students, but they were also waiting for reinforcements. When Hu Yuhao mentioned that they might be ambushed, he had already let out a secret signal. Reinforcements were likely to be on their way. Hu Yuhao pointed to the ground and said, "Let's fight down there." Long Xiaoyao was amused and started laughing. "I forgot. You can't fly, let's go down then." Yang Xiaozha was slightly worried as he saw black fog surging not far from where they were. Although he trusted Xian Lina, it was possible that the other party had invited another titled Doluo, since they could even snag the help of Long Xiaoyao. If there was another titled Doluo, Xian Lina would be in trouble. After hearing Long Xiaoyao, it was evident that he had no intention of letting her off. Hu Yuhao was smart, and could tell Yang Xiaozha's intention from his eyes. He thought of something and said, "Elder Long, let's make a bet." "What do you think?" Long Xiaoyao chortled and said, "Bet. To me, that's a rather new word. Tell me about it. Hu Yuhao said, I believe that the fight between Dean Xianlina and the scorpion tiger Doluo should be at a stalemate now. Right? Long Xiaoyao nodded and replied, you're right. In that duel, it's highly likely that they will both end up critically injured. Hu Yuhao said, you can also tell that I'm only rank 50, just a 5-ringed Soul King. What do you think will happen if I join in their fight? Long Xiaoyao laughed, little fellow, you're really confident. Do you really think that you can participate in a fight between transcendent Doluo? Hu Yuhao laughed too, but his laughter was a little sly. This piqued Long Xiaoyao's interest further. This is what I want to bet with you. I'm confident that I can help Dean Xian win this fight, in less than a minute after I join it. Do you dare to bet with me? Oh. Long Xiaoyao's expression finally changed, and he took a serious look at Hu Yuhao. He said, little fellow, you're betting with your life here. I can't see how you have any chance of winning. Furthermore, you can't play any tricks in front of me. You can't even depend on Yang Xiaozhe. Hu Yuhao said arrogantly, I'm using my own strength. I don't need anybody's help. Do you dare to bet with me? I don't have any outrageous requests. Just if I win, please ensure that the 3 of us can return to the academy safely. Of course, our previous arrangement won't change. If I can't force you to move within 3 strikes, I'll return the ring to you. Dim white light started to shine in Hu Yuhao's eyes, and when his eyes turned completely white, the sky turned bright. The sun had looked very dim, as it was covered by the scorpion tiger Doluo's gloomy clouds. However, it now became more and more intense under Hu Yuhao's incantations. Yang Xiaozhe felt it the most since he was the closest to Hu Yuhao. He could sense a magical, attractive force coming from his body. It was drawing the light element in the air to his body. Yang Xiaozhe was also of the light type, and was from the same origin as Elder Mu's lineage. Although he wasn't a radiant holy dragon, instead a radiant phoenix, his sensation towards the light element was still very strong. After the light elements gathered around Hu Yuhao's body, they formed a strange resonation and started transforming. Amidst the deep chanting, these white lights started to turn into a different kind of element that even Yang Xiaozhe was unable to discern. He lifted his right hand, and his body started to light up. The Eye of Destiny also turned white, and an illusory light projection was formed by the white lights behind his back. It was Electrolux. Teacher, it's great to see you again. Even though Hu Yuhao couldn't see what was behind him, he could sense it through his spiritual detection. Bestow me strength, sunlight. Hu Yuhao shouted into the sky. A magical scene appeared. The sun seemed to have heard his call. A strong ray of white light descended from the sky and landed on his body. Electrolux's figure fused into his body, and the white light was deflected toward the soul beasts in the distance. Their pathetic screams sounded instantly. It was as if countless soul beasts were being massacred, and screams reverberated through the air. The soul beasts that surrounded Xianlina disappeared and revealed the scorpion tiger Doluo's original body. The scorpion tiger Doluo, Zhongpeng, was appalled. He felt a clear tremor in his heart. The soul beasts that he'd taken so much effort to gather instantly broke free from his control and fled in all directions. If Xianlina couldn't exploit an opportunity like this, she wasn't fit to be called a Valkyrie. A huge green dragon suddenly surfaced in mid-air. Xianlina let out a sonorous dragon roar. She stepped on the green dragon and pointed her pike forward. It instantly changed into a green bolt of lightning that struck towards Zhongpeng. However, Zhongpeng was still a transcendent Doluo. He didn't panic even in such a situation. As his figure quickly retreated, his 9th soul ring flashed. His scorpion tiger true body started to expand, then changed into countless black figures that flew around. At least a third of these black figures were vaporized when the green bolt of lightning passed by them. When Zhongpeng appeared again, he was already 1,000 meters away. His face was pale. As he groaned, he spat out fresh blood. However, he didn't turn his attention back to Xianlina. Rather, he turned towards the source of that terrifying aura. He saw the white light around Hu Yuhao dissipating, as Hu Yuhao returned to Yang Xiaozhe's side. Hu Yuhao smiled and said, "This is the strength of light. Light is used to remove darkness." Zhongpeng shouted, "Rubbish. What do you know about the strength of light? Even if it's light, it can't make my beast soul terrified." He didn't mention that he was extremely fearful. Hu Yuhao didn't explain anything. Facts spoke louder than words. Without a doubt, he won the bet he made with the Dragon Emperor Doluo. As he made a step out, Long Xiaoyao had arrived in front of Hu Yuhao. This time, he was more focused as he looked at him. It isn't just the strength of light. It seems to be a special force that can frighten spirits. I've lost. I'll uphold the agreement and spare the three of you. However, can you tell me what the force you just used is called? Even Mu En doesn't seem to possess it. Hu Yuhao couldn't possibly lie in front of the Dragon Emperor Doluo, and said subconsciously, it's a purification force. Yes, it was a purification force, the jinx of all spirits. No matter what spirit, it would be fearful and dissipate in the face of a purification force once it lost its original body. Part 1 End.